News every 15 minutes, weather every 10, and sports twice an hour.
Newstalk, KGVO, AM 1290 and 98.3 FM.
You're listening to Montana Morning with Peter Christian.
A one-vehicle crash near Pablo has claimed one life and sent one man to the hospital. Good morning, everyone. Montana Morning for Monday, June 5th, 2017. Skies overcast after lots of rain last night, but no flooding reported so far. We have 52 degrees under a cloudy sky. Our newscast this morning is sponsored by First Montana Bank. Your home for free centennial checking plus unlimited cash back every time you use your debit card. One man was killed, another injured in a one-vehicle rollover crash on an unnamed road near Pablo late Saturday night. A Montana Highway Patrol dispatcher describes what happened.
The vehicle was southbound on an unknown named road. The driver lost control, went off the right side of the roadway. Vehicle skid broadside onto the driver's side. Vehicle tripped, overturned, and landed on its roof. The passenger was partially ejected and pronounced on scene.
The Highway Patrol reports that the victim in the crash was a man in his 40s from Kent, Washington, while the driver of the Oldsmobile Cutlass was a Pablo resident in his 70s. He was taken to a local hospital for his injuries. Speed and alcohol are both suspected in the fatal crash. No names have been released. An eastern Montana woman who was left at the scene of a two-vehicle crash northeast of Lincoln has died of her injuries at a Great Falls hospital. Lewis and Clark County Coroner Brian Backeberg told the Independent Record that 56-year-old Brandon Billman of Glasgow died Thursday night. The suspected other driver, 21-year-old Devin Scott Ritchie of Wolf Creek, was charged with leaving the scene of Tuesday's crash without helping Billman or contacting law enforcement. Court records say he intentionally became intoxicated after the crash. The county attorney's office said Friday the case is still under investigation. The North Dakota Highway Patrol says a Montana man has died in a pickup crash in McKenzie County. Authorities say the 26-year-old man was traveling east on Highway 200 near Cartwright late Saturday when the Dodge Ram went into the ditch, spun around, and overturned. The driver from Billings was thrown from the vehicle and died. He was not wearing a seatbelt. The victim's name was not immediately made available. The number of people killed in crashes on Montana roads last year was second lowest in a decade, but alcohol continues to be the main factor. The Highway Patrol said in its annual report 190 people died in crashes on Montana roads last year, down from 224 the previous year. The Bozeman Daily Chronicle reports alcohol factored into 74 of those fatalities. Not using a seatbelt also played a role. Of the 190 who died, 69 were not wearing seatbelts. Patrol Colonel Tom Butler says highway drug seizures are also on the rise. Last year, troopers seized almost 1,300 pounds of drugs, including marijuana, hash, meth, cocaine, heroin, and synthetic marijuana. That's up from only 452 pounds in 2012. 48 University of Montana professors over the age of 65 were offered buyout packages in hopes that they would retire early and help the university save about $4 million from their personnel costs. Professor of French Michel Valentin is one of the recipients of the buyout offer and explains what it looked like.
If you take that offer, you retire mid-July, and they give you half a yearly salary, minus tax, which is a lot. So some people say it's a lot, but I heard from the grapevine it's not that much money for a buyout. But it shows that they are desperate. They want literally to cut the working force off.
Valentin says he has more than just money to consider. He was scheduled to teach a class on West African film and already has students expecting to take it. However, now he feels his absence may cause long-term harm to French studies in Montana.
If I let go, if I'm not there, I won't be replaced. Nobody will teach this class, etc. You see, it's excruciating. It's heart-wrenching. And then French section will lose one faculty, one position. Are we going to be able to keep the accreditation in the future with less faculty, less offering of higher division class? It's not a pleasant place to be right now. I don't know. I'm conflicted.
Valentin says he's seriously considering the offer, but he says he's heard many of his fellows have already decided to reject it. A University of Montana spokeswoman says 30% of its employees offered early retirement buyouts have shown interest in that deal. The Missoulian reports U of M President Sheila Stearns said Thursday the buyouts remain a good deal for the university, despite the fact that the low interest would not save as much money as planned. The incoming executive director of the Radio Television Digital News Directors Association, Dan Shelley, has some advice for journalists. following the assault on Ben Jacobs by Congressman-elect Greg Gianforte. Shelley, speaking from his office in New York City, said he's been expecting such an incident, considering the increasingly negative view of the press in the last few years.
I'd like to tell you that I was surprised or even shocked when I heard the news, but given the alarming rate at which the vitriol against the news media has been increasing all across the country, I was not surprised or shocked. I was outraged, but not surprised.
Shelley had some advice for journalists, whether experienced like Jacobs or those just starting out.
Keep doing what you're doing. Don't stop in the face of the increasing number of obstructions to legitimate efforts to gather the facts. Secondly, I think the journalism profession need to do a much better job of helping the public understand why the First Amendment, why press freedoms, why news media access are absolutely essential to their daily lives.
Assault charges are pending against Gianforte by Gallatin County Attorney Marty Lambert. The 2015 Montana School Choice Program allows for a tax credit of up to $150 to help fund students attending a private or religious school. However, the Montana Department of Revenue ruled that public funding for religious schools violates the Montana Constitution. Last week, District Judge Heidi Albrecht ruled that the department incorrectly excluded students from religious schools receiving the benefit because the program's funded through a tax credit rather than tax deductions. On Friday, Revenue Department Director Mike Kadis said the issue must be resolved with the Montana Supreme Court.
We believe that the Constitution is pretty clear that that's not allowed. The Constitution says no direct or indirect appropriations or payments. So the district court has disagreed with us, which is not particularly surprising, and I think ultimately this case needs to be adjudicated by the Supreme Court.
Kadis explained the difference between a tax deduction and a tax credit.
In a deduction, you're reducing the income that is taxed, and so if you made a contribution of $100, your income would be reduced by $100 that's taxed, and so the benefit would, in Montana's taxation system, where the top tax rate is about 6%, would be 6% of $100. Whereas if it's a credit, you calculate your tax first of all, and then you remove the amount. So it would be worth $100 difference between a credit and a deduction.
Kadis said his department needs to exercise its appeal within the next few weeks, and then the timeline would be up to the Supreme Court. It could take up to a year to get a response. And finally, researchers trying to preserve native cutthroat trout in Yellowstone Park say they're on track to eliminate non-native predator fish from Yellowstone Lake in about a decade. The Cody Enterprise reports the National Park Service is trying to get rid of non-native lake trout, which were discovered in Yellowstone Lake in 1994. Lake trout is a voracious species that feed on cutthroats. Yellowstone fisheries biologist Todd Kuhl says modeling indicates the lake trout population will collapse within about 10 years. Our News Talk time now, 6:13.
News Talk, KGVO.
Missoula's official weather station.
Partly to mostly sunny skies today with our high temperatures in the mid to low 70s. Clear tonight with our lows in the upper 40s. We'll see ample sunshine on Tuesday with our high temperatures in the mid to low 80s. I'm meteorologist Brooke Foster for Missoula's KECI 13.